Anna had always loved the piano. Even as a little girl, she would press her small fingers against the worn ivory keys of her grandmother's old upright, fascinated by how each touch created a different sound. Now, at 28, she still felt that same childlike wonder whenever she sat at a piano bench. Life hadn't exactly gone as planned for Anna. She'd dreamed of studying music, maybe even performing one day. But family responsibilities and financial constraints had pushed her down a different path. Instead of concert halls, she found herself working as an administrative assistant at the prestigious Westlake Music Academy, where she organized schedules, filed paperwork, and watched real musicians live the life she had once imagined for herself. It wasn't all disappointment, though. Working at the academy had its perks, mainly access to the practice rooms after hours when all the students and instructors had gone home. 3 or 4 nights a week, Anna would stay late, waiting until the hallways emptied before slipping into one of the smaller practice rooms with a simple upright piano. In those quiet moments with moonlight streaming through the tall windows, she would play. She wasn't formally trained, just bits and pieces picked up from watching students, some online tutorials and that natural instinct that had been with her since childhood. Her playing wasn't polished or technically impressive, but it was heartfelt. She played folk songs her grandmother had taught her, popular tunes she'd figured out by ear, and sometimes just random melodies that popped into her head. On a chilly autumn Tuesday, Anna stayed especially late. The academy had hosted a faculty recital, and she'd been asked to help with the reception afterward. By the time she finished cleaning up, it was nearly 10 p.m. The building was eerily quiet, exactly how she liked it. She made her way to her favorite practice room, number 7, with its slightly out-of-fashion upright that had the warmest tone. Settling onto the bench, she began her usual ritual, starting with simple scales to warm up her fingers, before moving into a melody she'd been working on for weeks. Anna was so absorbed in the music that she didn't notice the figure leaning against the doorframe until she hit a particularly sour note and winced. "That's an interesting interpretation," a voice said, causing her to jump and spin around on the bench. Thomas Chen stood in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest, one eyebrow raised. The new piano instructor. Anna had processed his hiring paperwork just 3 months ago and had seen him from afar in faculty meetings, but they'd never actually spoken. He was younger than most of the other instructors, probably in his early 30s, and had a reputation among students as brilliant but brutally honest. "I'm sorry," Anna stammered, quickly standing up. "I didn't realize anyone was still here. I was just playing." Thomas finished for her, stepping into the room. "Is that what you'd call that?" Heat rushed to Anna's cheeks. "I was just messing around. I know I'm not very good, not very good," Thomas repeated with a short laugh. "That's generous." He walked closer, and Anna instinctively backed away from the piano. She'd heard stories about his perfectionism, how he could reduce confident performance majors to tears with just a few cutting remarks, now that critical attention was focused entirely on her, an amateur who had no business touching the academy's instruments. "Your posture is terrible," he continued, gesturing toward the bench. "You hunch over the keys like you're afraid they might run away. Your wrists are too low, your fingers too flat, and you're using the pedal like it's an on-off switch rather than a tool for expression." Each observation felt like a physical blow. Anna clutched her hands together, suddenly conscious of how ordinary they looked. Short nails, a small burn from making coffee that morning, nothing like the elegant, capable hands of a real pianist. "And that piece you were attempting," Thomas said, settling himself at the bench with casual confidence. "It's meant to breathe. Like this." His fingers touched the keys, and instantly the room filled with sound. The same melody Anna had been playing, but transformed. Where her version had been halting and uncertain, his flowed like water. Where she had fumbled, he added subtle ornamentation that made the simple tune sound sophisticated and intentional. "Do you see the difference?" he asked, not looking at her but at his own hands as they moved across the keyboard. "It's not just about hitting the right notes. My 8-year-old students understand that much." Anna nodded, though he wasn't watching for her response. She felt incredibly small. Thomas stopped playing abruptly and turned to look at her properly for the first time. "You're the admin assistant, right? The one who's always sending emails about room bookings and copy machine codes." "Yes," she replied quietly. "I'm Anna." "Well, Anna," he said, standing up from the bench. These instruments are valuable tools for students who are seriously pursuing music. They're not toys for amateurs to bang around on after hours. I'm sorry, she said again, unable to meet his eyes. I didn't think it would be a problem. No one's ever said anything before. Thomas sighed, as if her response had only confirmed his low opinion. Look, I'm not saying you should never touch a piano again, but maybe consider some actual lessons if you want to play. There are plenty of community programs for adult beginners. The way he said adult beginners made it sound like a terminal diagnosis. He glanced at his watch. It's late. I need to lock up this wing before I leave. Anna nodded quickly, gathering her bag and jacket. Of course. I'll get out of your way. As she hurried toward the door, Thomas called after her. One more thing. She paused, turning back reluctantly. That melody you were playing, it's not bad. The composition, I mean. Did you write it? For a moment, Anna felt a tiny flicker of pride. Sort of. I've been working on it for a while. Thomas nodded thoughtfully. Interesting. It has potential, actually. But it's like watching someone with a great story to tell but who doesn't know the language well enough to express it. He demonstrated with a few notes, then deliberately played them incorrectly, mimicking her style. See, it's like listening to someone with a thick accent. The meaning gets lost in the poor delivery. That small flame of pride extinguished as quickly as it had appeared. Right, Anna said quietly. Good night, Mr. Chen. Dr. Chen, he corrected automatically. Good night. Anna walked quickly down the darkened hallway, her footsteps echoing against the polished floor. Only when she reached the staff exit did she realize she was shaking. She pushed through the door into the cold night air, grateful for the shock of it against her hot face. The drive home to her small apartment was a blur. She parked her car, climbed the 3 flights of stairs, the elevator was broken again, and let herself into the quiet space she'd called home for the past 4 years. It wasn't much, a 1-bedroom with furniture mostly acquired from thrift shops and family hand-me-downs, but it was hers. And in one corner of the living room stood her most prized possession. A digital piano she'd saved for months to buy. It wasn't a fancy model, nothing like the grand pianos at the academy, but it had weighted keys that felt somewhat like the real thing, and with headphones she could play at any hour without disturbing her neighbors. Tonight, though, she walked past it without a second glance. Instead, she went straight to the bathroom, turned on the shower as hot as she could stand it, and finally let the tears come. Under the stream of water, where no one could hear, Anna cried not just from humiliation, but from the painful recognition of truth in Thomas's words. She wasn't good enough. She'd never had proper training. She was fooling herself, playing make-believe in those practice rooms, imagining she had any real talent later. Wrapped in her oldest, most comfortable robe, Anna made herself a cup of tea and curled up on her small couch. Her phone buzzed with a message from her friend Lily. How was piano time tonight? Discover any new melodies? Lily was the only person Anna had ever shared her secret evening piano sessions with. The only one who'd ever heard recordings of her original compositions. Anna stared at the message for a long moment before replying. Not tonight. Tired from the event. Tell you later. She couldn't bring herself to describe the encounter with Dr. Chen. Saying it out loud, or even typing it, would make the humiliation too real. Instead, she found herself opening her laptop and searching piano lessons for adults. The search returned dozens of results: private instructors, community classes, online courses. The prices made her wince. Between rent, car payments, and student loans, there wasn't much left in her budget for extras. She closed the laptop and glanced at her digital piano, sitting silently in the corner. For the first time since she'd bought it, she felt no desire to play. The joy had been sucked out by Dr. Chen's cutting assessment. As she got ready for bed, Anna tried to tell herself it didn't matter. Playing piano was just a hobby, a way to unwind after stressful days. She had never expected to be good at it. It shouldn't hurt this much to hear the truth. But as she lay in the darkness, Thomas's words kept replaying in her mind. It's like someone with a great story to tell, but who doesn't know the language well enough to express it. That was what hurt the most. Not that he thought she played badly. She knew she was no virtuoso. But that he could hear something valuable in her music, something worth expressing, but dismissed her ability to ever express it properly. Just before drifting off to sleep, a thought occurred to Anna that would change the course of the coming months. What if Dr. Chen was wrong? Not about her technique, she knew that needed work, but about her potential? What if she could find a way to prove that her music was worth hearing, regardless of her formal training? With that defiant thought warming her heart, Anna finally fell asleep, unaware that her encounter with Thomas Chen had set in motion events that would transform both their lives in ways neither could imagine. For the next week, Anna avoided the practice rooms. She arrived at work exactly on time and left promptly at 5, ignoring the familiar pull she felt each time she walked past room number 7. At home, her digital piano remained untouched, its silent presence in the corner of her living room like a constant reminder of her humiliation. Instead of playing in the evenings, she threw herself into other activities, cleaning her apartment until it sparkled, catching up on TV shows she'd been meaning to watch, even calling her mother for their longest conversation in months. She did everything possible to avoid thinking about music, about Thomas Chen's cutting remarks, and about the melody that still played persistently in her head despite her best efforts to silence it. On Friday afternoon, Anna was sorting through mail at her desk when Lily appeared, leaning against the doorframe of the small administrative office. "You're alive. I was starting to wonder," Lily said with a grin. As the Academy's librarian, Lily was one of the few staff members who wasn't a musician. They'd bonded over that shared outsider status when Anna first started working there 3 years ago. "Sorry," Anna replied, forcing a smile. "It's been a busy week," Lily studied her face. "No, it hasn't. I checked the calendar. No special events, no auditions, not even a faculty meeting." She pulled up a chair and sat down. "You haven't answered any of my texts about getting coffee, and you've been running out of here like the building's on fire every day at 5. What's going on?" Anna hesitated, then sighed. Lily would find out eventually. "I had an unpleasant encounter with Dr. Chen last week. In the practice room, the new piano guy. The one who looks like he's perpetually smelling something bad." Despite herself, Anna laughed. "That's him. What happened?" Anna told her everything, staying late, playing her melody, Thomas's unexpected appearance and harsh critique. By the time she finished, her cheeks were burning with remembered embarrassment. Lily let out a low whistle. "What a jerk." "He wasn't wrong, though," Anna said quietly. "I'm not trained. I don't know what I'm doing." "So what? You play because you love it, not because you're trying to get into Carnegie Hall." Lily leaned forward. "Don't let some stuffy professor steal that joy from you." Anna shrugged, sorting through another stack of envelopes. "It's not just that. He said my melody had potential, but that I couldn't express it properly. Like having a story to tell but not knowing the language. And that bothers you more than the technique stuff?" "Yeah." Anna set down the mail. "It's like he could hear what I was trying to do, what I was feeling when I wrote it, but he thinks I'll never be able to share it with anyone else. And maybe he's right." Lily thought for a moment. "You know, my cousin takes piano lessons from a graduate student here. Way cheaper than the professors, and she says he's really good at explaining things. Maybe that's something to consider." Anna was about to dismiss the idea when a flyer in the stack of mail caught her eye. She pulled it out for a closer look. "What's that?" Lily asked. "The Westlake Composition Contest," Anna read aloud. "Open to all original unpublished works. Preliminary judging done anonymously, with finalists performing at the Winter Showcase." She looked up at Lily, her heart suddenly beating faster. The Winter Showcase is the Academy's biggest event of the year. Everyone attends. Students, faculty, donors, even scouts from music labels sometimes. Lily raised her eyebrows. "Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?" "I don't know," Anna said, but a small defiant part of her was already wondering. What if she could turn her melody, the one Thomas had grudgingly admitted had potential, into a full composition? What if she could prove him wrong about her ability to express herself through music? "The entry deadline is in 8 weeks, she said, scanning the flyer. "And it says here that entries are judged anonymously in the preliminary rounds. The judges won't know who submitted what until the finalists are chosen. So Dr. Grumpyface wouldn't know it was yours," Lily said, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Anna, you have to do this. That's crazy." "I can't compete against real composers. Students here have been studying music theory for years. But you said yourself he thought your melody had potential. Maybe you have a natural talent for composition, even if your playing technique needs work." Anna bit her lip, considering. Even if I wanted to try, I wouldn't know where to start. How to structure a full piece, how to write it down properly. Lily grabbed the flyer. It says here that entrants can submit either traditional sheet music or a high-quality audio recording for the preliminary judging. You could record yourself playing on your digital piano at home. The idea was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Could she really do this? Compose a piece worthy of the Westlake Composition Contest? I'd need to improve my playing first, Anna said slowly. A lot. So take some lessons. Like I said, the grad students charge way less than the professors. For the first time since her encounter with Thomas, Anna felt a spark of hope. Maybe I could. That night, instead of avoiding her piano, Anna sat down at the bench. She played her melody, the one Thomas had criticized, and recorded it on her phone, listening critically to the playback. He was right about many things. Her timing was inconsistent, her use of the pedal clumsy, her phrasing choppy. But beneath those technical flaws, there was something there. A story, her story, and she wanted to tell it. The next morning, she contacted Jin Park, the graduate student Lily's cousin took lessons from. His rate was still a stretch for her budget, but if she cut back on takeout and new clothes for a while, she could manage one lesson per week. Their first meeting was the following Tuesday evening at Jin's small apartment near campus. Anna arrived nervous, clutching her phone with the recording of her melody. Jin was nothing like Thomas. Where Thomas was stern and imposing, Jin was laid back and friendly, greeting her with a warm smile and offering her tea before they began. His living room was dominated by an upright piano only slightly nicer than Anna's digital keyboard at home. So, Jin said once they were settled, Lily's cousin told me you're interested in improving your technique. Have you played long? Not formally, Anna admitted. I never had lessons as a kid. I just play by ear, I guess. Jin nodded, not looking surprised or judgmental. Many great musicians started that way. Can you play something for me? Anything you're comfortable with. Taking a deep breath, Anna sat at the piano. Her hands trembled slightly as she began her melody, the one that had been in her head for months now. She played it all the way through, making several mistakes but pushing forward. When she finished, she looked up anxiously. I know it's not very good. Jin was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. Your technique needs work, yes. But there's something special in the composition itself. Did you write that? Anna nodded, relieved that he could hear it too. It's really interesting, Jin continued. The harmonic structure is unusual, but in a good way. Where did you learn composition? I didn't, Anna said. I just hear it in my head and try to play what I hear. Jin's eyebrows rose slightly. That's a gift, you know. Perfect pitch, musical memory, these things can't be taught. Technique can, he smiled. We have work to do, but there's definitely something to build on here. For the next hour, Jin focused on the basics. Proper posture, hand position, finger exercises. It was challenging and sometimes frustrating, but nothing like the discouraging experience with Thomas. Jin was patient, explaining the why behind each correction, celebrating small improvements. At the end of the lesson, Anna felt both exhausted and energized. Do you think? She hesitated, then pushed forward. Do you think I could learn enough in 2 months to make a recording sound decent? There's this composition contest at the academy and I was thinking of entering. Jin considered her question seriously. It would be a lot of work. Daily practice may be increasing to 2 lessons a week as we get closer to the deadline. He smiled. But yes, I think it's possible. Especially if you're playing your own composition, you already have the emotional connection to the piece. For the first time, Anna allowed herself to truly consider the possibility. There's one more thing, she said, and told him about her encounter with Thomas Chen. Jin laughed. Dr. Chen. He has quite a reputation among the grad students, too. Brilliant pianist, but not everyone is cut out to be a teacher. He studied her face. You want to prove him wrong. Is that a terrible reason to enter the contest? Not at all. Some of the greatest achievements in history came from people wanting to prove someone wrong. Jin grinned. Though if you're selected as a finalist, you'd have to perform in person. He would know it was you. Anna hadn't thought that far ahead. The idea of performing her piece in front of an audience, in front of Thomas, was terrifying. But also, strangely satisfying to imagine. I'll cross that bridge if I come to it, she said. Over the next few weeks, Anna's life fell into a new rhythm. Mornings and afternoons at the academy, carefully avoiding Thomas Chen. Evenings split between lessons with Jin and hours of practice at home. Weekends dedicated to developing her composition, expanding the original melody into a complete piece with Jin's guidance on music theory and structure. The work was harder than anything she'd done before. Her fingers ached from practice. Her brain struggled with new concepts, and there were days when she wondered if she was fooling herself. But there were also breakthroughs, moments when her fingers finally mastered a difficult passage, or when a new section of her composition came together perfectly, expressing exactly what she felt. Her piece was taking shape, telling the story she'd always wanted to tell, about longing and limitation, about beauty just out of reach. Jin called it hauntingly beautiful and seemed genuinely excited by her progress, both as a pianist and as a composer. 6 weeks into her lessons, with the contest deadline approaching, Anna stayed late at the academy to make copies of some faculty reports. She'd stopped using the practice room since starting lessons with Jin, but as she passed room 7 that evening, she heard someone playing. She recognized the melody immediately. It was hers. Quietly, she approached the door and peered through the small window. Thomas Chen sat at the piano, playing her melody. Not mocking it this time, but thoughtfully, experimenting with different interpretations, even adding some embellishments that, she had to admit, enhanced what she'd written. Anna stood frozen, watching and listening as Thomas played with her music, his face intent and curious. For a brief moment, she felt a strange connection to him through the notes, as if they were having a conversation neither of them could have in words. Then, realizing how awkward it would be to be caught spying, she backed away silently and continued down the hall, her mind racing with questions. Why was Thomas playing her melody? Had it stuck in his head too? And, more importantly, what would he think when he heard how she had developed it into a full composition? With the contest deadline just 2 weeks away, Anna returned home that night more determined than ever to finish her piece. The memory of Thomas playing her melody, taking it seriously, finding value in it, gave her a new confidence. Whatever happened with the contest, she had already proven something important to herself, that her music deserved to be heard. Now she just needed to find the perfect ending, one that would leave no doubt about what she was capable of expressing. The deadline for the composition contest loomed closer. With just 1 week left, Anna found herself in Jin's apartment for what had become their twice-weekly lessons. Her fingers danced across the keys with growing confidence as she played through her composition, now a full 5-minute piece that had evolved far beyond the simple melody Thomas had criticized months ago. When she finished, Jin was quiet for a moment, a thoughtful expression on his face. "What do you think?" Anna asked nervously. "Is it ready?" "It's better than ready," Jin replied, his eyes bright with excitement. "Anna, this is genuinely good. Not just good for someone without formal training, good, period." A warm flush of pride spread through her chest. "Really?" "Really. The way you've developed that initial theme, the emotional journey of the middle section, and especially that final resolution, it all works beautifully together." He smiled. "Have you decided what to call it?" Anna hadn't thought about a title. She'd been so focused on the notes themselves. "I'm not sure." "What do you think?" Jin shook his head. "That's entirely up to you. It's your story, after all. Her story." Anna closed her eyes for a moment, thinking about everything that had gone into this piece. The years of playing in secret, the humiliation of Thomas's criticism, the hours of practice and learning, and finally, the discovery that she did have something worthwhile to express. "Hidden," she said, opening her eyes. "I want to call it Hidden." Jin nodded slowly. "Perfect." The next evening, Anna stayed late at the academy again. This time it wasn't to practice, but to submit her entry to the competition. Contestants were required to upload their recordings to a secure system in the academy's computer lab, ensuring anonymity during the preliminary judging. The lab was empty when she arrived, which was a relief. She didn't want anyone looking over her shoulder as she uploaded the recording she'd made the night before, the best of a dozen attempts, captured using the high-quality microphone Jin had lent her. As she waited for the file to upload, Anna read through the contest rules one more time. Preliminary judging would take place over the next 2 weeks, with finalists announced at the end of the month. The finalists would then have 3 weeks to prepare for live performances at the Winter Showcase in December. The thought of performing live still terrified her. But that was a bridge to cross later, if she even made it that far. For now, it was enough to know that her music would be heard and judged fairly, without preconceptions about her lack of training. As the upload completed, Anna typed in her entry information. Title, Hidden, Composer, Anna Lee. For the performer field, she hesitated, then typed composer. A message appeared on the screen. Your entry has been successfully submitted. Good luck. Anna let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was done. For better or worse, her music was now out there to be judged. As she gathered her things to leave, the lab door opened. Thomas Chen walked in, stopping abruptly when he saw her. Ms. Lee, he said with a nod. Working late? Just finishing up, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. It was the first time they'd spoken since that night in the practice room. Thomas moved to one of the computers, then paused. Actually, I've been meaning to ask you something. He turned to face her fully. That melody you were playing that night, the one you said you were working on, have you continued with it? Anna's heart pounded. Should she tell him about the contest? No, she decided. She wanted her composition to be judged solely on its merits. I've been practicing, she said carefully, taking some lessons actually. Something that might have been approval flickered across Thomas's face. Good, that's not good. He seemed about to say more, then changed his mind. Well, don't let me keep you. Good night, Dr. Chen, Anna said, heading for the door. Ms. Lee? He called after her. That melody really did have potential. I hope you know that my criticism was about the execution, not the composition itself. Anna turned back, meeting his gaze directly for the first time. I know, she said simply, and left before he could see the small smile that crept onto her face. The next 3 weeks were the hardest test of patience Anna had ever faced. She continued her lessons with Jin, focusing now on technique and expression rather than composition. Her piece was done. Now it was about becoming the best performer she could be, just in case. At work, she jumped every time her email pinged, even though she knew the finalists wouldn't be announced until the end of the month. She found herself studying Thomas during staff meetings, wondering what he would think if he knew what she'd done. Would he be impressed? Dismissive? Would he even remember that night in the practice room, which had changed the course of her life so dramatically? Finally, on the last Friday of the month, the announcement came. Anna was at her desk sorting through faculty reimbursement forms when Lily burst into the office. They're posting the finalists, she exclaimed, breathless from running. Come on, they've put the list up in the main hall. Anna's stomach twisted with nerves as she followed Lily through the academy corridors. A small crowd had gathered around the bulletin board in the main hall, students and faculty alike buzzing with excitement. Excuse us, Lily said, elbowing their way through. Official staff business. They reached the front, and Anna's eyes scanned the list of 5 finalists. Moonlight Echoes by Peter Wong, Winter's Edge. By Machen Tempest in F minor, by David Jackson. Hidden by Anna Lee, Reflections on Water. By Isabella Moretti. Anna stared at her name on the list, unable to process what she was seeing. You did it, Lily squealed, grabbing her arm. Anna, you're a finalist. Reality crashed in. She had made it. Her composition would be performed at the Winter Showcase, in front of everyone, in front of Thomas. Congratulations to the finalists, a voice behind them said. They turned to see Dean Rivera, the head of the academy, smiling broadly. This year's entries were particularly impressive. Thank you, Anna said faintly, still in shock. The dean's eyes widened slightly. You're Anna Lee? From the administrative office? Yes, ma'am. Well, this is a lovely surprise. I had no idea we had a composer in our administrative staff. She looked genuinely delighted. I look forward to hearing your piece at the showcase. As the dean moved away to congratulate another finalist, Lily squeezed Anna's arm. Do you realize what this means? You're going to perform at the Winter Showcase. You, Anna. Not just working behind the scenes, but on stage. The enormity of it hit her all at once. Oh God, Lily, what have I done? I can't perform in front of all those people. And the other finalists, they're all music students. Hey, breathe, Lily said, guiding her away from the crowd. You earned this spot. Your music deserved to be recognized, and it was. Now you just have to show everyone what you can do. But what if I can't? What if I freeze up or make a mess of it? Anna's hands trembled at the thought. Maybe I should withdraw. Anna Lee, don't you dare, Lily said firmly. You've worked too hard for this. And besides, she added with a mischievous smile, don't you want to see Dr. Chen's face when he realizes it's you? Despite her panic, Anna couldn't help but smile at the thought. He's going to be there, isn't he? All the faculty attend the showcase. Front and center, Lily confirmed. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Over the next week, word spread throughout the academy about the administrative assistant who had become a composition finalist. Some people were supportive, stopping by Anna's desk to congratulate her. Others were skeptical, whispering when they thought she couldn't hear. Probably just a fluke. Wait until she has to actually perform. The judges must have made a mistake. The worst was overhearing two student finalists talking in the hallway. An admin assistant? Seriously, she probably doesn't even know proper music theory. Maybe she got help, the other replied with a shrug. Or maybe the judges felt sorry for her. You know, diversity pick. Anna had walked away quickly, their words stinging more than she wanted to admit. The doubts they voiced mirrored her own deepest insecurities. What if it was a fluke? What if the judges had just been curious about an unusual entry? What if she really didn't belong in this competition? These thoughts plagued her as she sat in Jin's apartment that Friday, her fingers fumbling through passages she had played perfectly just a week before. Stop, Jin said gently after a particularly disastrous run. What's going on, Anna? You've regressed at least a month. I don't think I can do this, she admitted, hands dropping limply into her lap. Everyone's talking about me. The other finalists think I'm a joke. And what do you think? Jin asked. Anna hesitated. I think my composition is good. But I don't know if I'm good enough to perform it the way it deserves. Jin considered this. That's a fair concern. But let me ask you something. 3 months ago, did you believe you could compose a piece worthy of being a finalist in this contest? No, she admitted, yet here you are. Jin smiled. You've already exceeded your own expectations once. Why not again? Anna thought about it. I just don't want to embarrass myself. Then don't, Jin said simply. Work harder than you've ever worked. Practice until your fingers know the piece so well they could play it in your sleep. Prove to yourself and everyone else that you deserve to be on that stage. Something shifted in Anna's perspective. Jin was right. She had already accomplished what should have been impossible. Why stop now? 3 weeks, she said, straightening her posture at the piano. 3 weeks to become the performer this piece needs, Jin nodded approvingly. Let's get to work. What followed was the most intense period of Anna's life. She arranged to take 2 weeks of vacation time from her job, explaining to her sympathetic supervisor that she needed to prepare for the showcase. Every day became a marathon of practice. 4 hours with Jin in the mornings, working on technique and expression, followed by hours alone at home, drilling the difficult passages until her fingers moved with precision and confidence. The piece itself became a part of her, each phrase and harmony so deeply internalized that she could play entire sections with her eyes closed, feeling the music rather than thinking about it. 1 week before the showcase, Jin declared her ready. You've done the work, he told her. Now it's just about trusting yourself when you get on that stage. What if Thomas Chen hates it? Anna asked, voicing the fear that had lingered throughout her preparation. What if he was right all along, that I have a story to tell but don't know the language well enough to tell it? Jin smiled. Play for him the way you just played for me, and I guarantee he won't be thinking about your technique. He'll be too busy feeling what your music has to say. As Anna left Jin's apartment that day, she realized something important had changed. 3 months ago, she had started this journey to prove Thomas wrong. But somewhere along the way, it had become about proving something to herself instead, that she had a voice worth hearing, regardless of what anyone else thought. The night before the showcase, Anna stood in her small living room, looking at the digital piano that had been her faithful companion throughout this journey. Tomorrow, she would play on a magnificent grand piano in front of hundreds of people. The thought still terrified her, but now there was excitement mixed with the fear. Whatever happened tomorrow, she had already won something precious. The knowledge that music wasn't just something she loved. It was something she could create, express, and share with others. It was a part of who she was. With that thought warming her heart, Anna sat at her piano one last time, running through her piece not for practice, but for the pure joy of it. The day of the winter showcase arrived with a flurry of snow, transforming the academy grounds into a picturesque winter scene. Anna stood at her apartment window, watching the large flakes drift down from a pearl gray sky. In just 8 hours, she would be performing her composition in front of the largest audience of her life. Strangely, she felt calmer than expected. Perhaps she had used up all her anxiety during the weeks of preparation. Or maybe it was the peaceful snow creating a sense that time itself had slowed down. Whatever the reason, Anna welcomed the quiet steadiness in her hands as she got ready. She had bought a new dress for the occasion, a simple, elegant design in deep blue that had cost more than she usually spent on clothes. "You need to look the part," Lily had insisted when they went shopping last weekend. "Not just sound like a composer, but look like one too." After one final glance in the mirror, Anna carefully packed her sheet music in a folder, though she doubted she would need it. After countless hours of practice, hidden lived in her fingers and heart more than on any page. The Academy's main performance hall was already buzzing with activity when Anna arrived 3 hours before the showcase. Stage crew moved efficiently around the space, adjusting lighting and sound equipment. A magnificent grand piano stood at center stage, its polished surface gleaming under the lights. "Anna, there you are." Dean Rivera approached with a warm smile. "We have a rehearsal schedule for all the finalists. You'll have 30 minutes on stage to get comfortable with the piano and the space. You're scheduled for 3 p.m. Anna nodded, trying not to look as overwhelmed as she felt. This was really happening. During her rehearsal time, Anna sat at the grand piano, marveling at the perfect weight of the keys, the rich resonance of each note. It was like driving a luxury car after years of using a bicycle. Everything responded exactly as it should, making her playing sound better almost effortlessly. She ran through her piece once, getting used to the acoustics of the hall. The sound carried beautifully, filling the space with the emotions she had poured into her composition. When she finished, she was startled by applause from the back of the hall. Looking up, Anna saw Jin walking down the center aisle, beaming with pride. "That was wonderful," he said as he reached the stage. "How does it feel to play on a proper concert grand?" "Like flying," Anna replied honestly. "I didn't know it could feel this easy," Jin laughed. "That's what happens when you have a quality instrument. Just wait until you have an audience. Their energy will carry you even further." As they talked, the next finalist arrived for their rehearsal time. Anna gathered her things, suddenly realizing how real this was becoming. In just a few hours, the hall would be filled with hundreds of people, faculty, students, donors, community members, and somewhere among them would be Thomas Chen. Back in the green room, a comfortable space set aside for performers before and after their time on stage, Anna met the other finalists. Peter Wong, a graduate student in composition, was friendly and enthusiastic, complimenting her on making it to the finals without the usual academic route. Mei Chen, a serious third-year undergraduate, merely nodded politely before returning to her score. David Jackson, a jazz performance major who had branched into classical composition, chatted animatedly about his experimental piece. And Isabella Moretti, a composition major known for her technical brilliance, kept to herself, fingers silently playing through passages on her lap. Anna felt like an imposter among them, until Peter sat down beside her. "First competition?" he asked kindly. "That obvious, huh?" He smiled. "We all start somewhere. I threw up before my first public performance. Literally, right in the trash can backstage." Anna laughed despite her nerves. "That's not very reassuring. The point is, I survived, and now I actually enjoy performing." He studied her for a moment. "Your piece, Hidden, right? I heard you practicing earlier. It's really beautiful. Not what I expected from—" He caught himself. "From an administrative assistant?" Anna finished for him. Peter had the grace to look embarrassed. "I was going to say from a newcomer. But yeah, there's been talk. Don't let it get to you. Music speaks for itself." As the afternoon wore on, the backstage area grew busier. Staff members bustled about with programs and last-minute arrangements. Performers from other parts of the showcase, student ensembles, faculty soloists arrived and began warming up. Lily appeared an hour before showtime, somehow having talked her way past security. "You look amazing," she said, pulling Anna into a tight hug. "How are you feeling?" "Strangely okay," Anna replied. "Ask me again in 50 minutes. The hall is filling up fast," Lily reported. "Pretty much every seat taken. And guess who I saw in the front row?" Dr. Grumpy Face himself, looking as cheerful as ever. Anna's stomach tightened. "Great, no pressure." "Hey," Lily said, taking her hands. "Remember why you're doing this. Not for him, not for anyone else. For you and for your music." Anna nodded, squeezing Lily's hands gratefully. "I know." At 6 p.m. sharp, the house lights dimmed and Dean Rivera walked onto the stage to welcome the audience. From her position in the wings, Anna could see only a slice of the packed auditorium, but she could hear the dean's voice echoing through the speakers, a special part of our annual winter showcase. The Westlake Composition Contest highlights extraordinary new talent. This year we had a record number of entries, making our judges' task particularly challenging. The 5 finalists you'll hear tonight represent the very best of these submissions. The finalists drew numbers to determine their performance order. Anna drew number 4, which meant she would have to sit through 3 other performances before her turn, plenty of time for her nerves to build. Peter went first, performing his Moonlight Echoes, a technically impressive piece that showcased his classical training. The audience applauded enthusiastically, and Anna felt her confidence wavering. How could she follow performers of this caliber? May's Winter's Edge was next, a stark modernist composition that drew more reserved but respectful applause. Then came David's jazz-influenced Tempest in F minor, which had several audience members nodding along to its rhythmic complexity. And then it was her turn. Our next finalist, the dean announced, is Anna Lee performing her original composition, Hidden. A murmur rippled through the audience as Anna walked onto the stage. She caught snippets of whispered conversations. From the admin office? I never studied composition. She kept her eyes forward, not looking for Thomas in the audience. Not yet. She needed to focus. The grand piano waited for her, spotlit like a silent partner. Anna sat down, adjusted the bench, and took a deep breath. The hall fell silent, hundreds of people waiting for her to begin. In that moment of perfect stillness, Anna closed her eyes briefly and remembered why she had started playing piano all those years ago. For the pure joy of creating something beautiful. Then she placed her hands on the keys and began. The opening notes of Hidden filled the hall, quiet, hesitant at first, like someone testing their voice after years of silence. The melody Thomas had once criticized now unfolded with purpose and confidence, developing into something richer and more complex than that early version. As she played, Anna forgot about the audience, forgot about Thomas, forgot about everything except the story she was telling through her music. A story of longing and discovery, of finding one's voice against the odds. Her fingers moved with the precision and expression she had practiced for countless hours. But now there was something more, a freedom, an aliveness that came from sharing this deeply personal creation with others. The middle section flowed into cascading arpeggios that she had once found impossible, but now executed flawlessly, each note singing clear and true. And then came the final section, the resolution she had worked so hard to perfect, where all the musical themes came together in a moment of quiet triumph. As the last notes faded into silence, Anna finally looked up. For a heartbeat, there was no sound at all. Then the applause began, tentative at first, then building into something warm and genuine. A few people even stood. Anna's eyes found Thomas in the front row. He wasn't applauding yet. He was simply staring at her, his expression a complex mixture of shock and something else she couldn't quite identify. Recognition, perhaps? Or respect? Their eyes met briefly, and Anna felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Whatever he thought of her performance, she knew she had done justice to her music. She stood, bowed to the audience, and walked off stage, her heart pounding with a strange mixture of relief and exhilaration. She had done it. Whatever happened next, whether she won the competition or not, she had shared her music with the world. In the wings, Jin waited with a broad smile. Anna, that was magnificent. You played even better than in rehearsal. I felt different out there, Anna said, trying to put the experience into words, like the music was playing itself through me. That's what happens when you're fully present with the music, Jin said. It's not just technique anymore, it's expression, communication. That's what makes a true musician. A true musician. The words echoed in Anna's mind as she returned to the green room to wait for the final performer. And after that, the judge's decision. Isabella's performance of Reflections on Water was undeniably brilliant, technically flawless and innovative in its structure. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, and Anna found herself admiring the young woman's obvious talent and years of training. After all 5 finalists had performed, they were called back to the stage to stand together while the judge's decision was announced. Anna's legs felt wobbly as she lined up with the others under the bright lights, aware of hundreds of eyes upon them. Dean Rivera approached the microphone, holding an envelope. "All of our finalists tonight have demonstrated extraordinary talent and creativity," she began. "Any one of them would be a worthy winner. However, the judges have reached their decision." She opened the envelope. "The winner of this year's Westlake Composition Contest is..." The pause seemed to stretch into infinity. Anna held her breath. "Caught Hidden by Anna Lee." For a moment, Anna was certain she had misheard. But then Peter was squeezing her shoulder in congratulation, and the audience was applauding, and Dean Rivera was gesturing for her to come forward. In a daze, Anna stepped up to receive a small crystal trophy and an envelope containing, she knew from the contest rules, a scholarship for continued musical education. She managed to stammer a brief thank you into the microphone before returning to her place in line. As the finalists left the stage, Anna caught sight of Thomas standing at the edge of the audience. He was watching her with an intensity that made her pause. After a moment's hesitation, she changed direction and walked toward him. "Dr. Chen," she said, her voice steadier than she expected. "Ms. Lee," he replied, his usual formality softened by something new in his tone. "Your performance was unexpected." Anna waited, sensing he had more to say. "You've clearly been working hard," he continued. "Your technique has improved remarkably." "I had a good teacher," Anna said, thinking of Jin's patience and encouragement. Thomas nodded. "And your composition. It was genuinely moving. You found a way to express that story after all." Coming from him, it was high praise indeed. Anna felt a sense of completion, a circle somehow closing. "Thank you," she said simply. Thomas seemed about to say more, but they were interrupted by Lily, rushing over to envelop Anna in a hug, followed by Jin and several others offering congratulations. When Anna looked back, Thomas had disappeared into the crowd, but his words remained with her, a final validation of the journey she had undertaken. Later that night, surrounded by friends at an impromptu celebration dinner, Anna found herself reflecting on the strange path that had led her here. If Thomas hadn't walked into that practice room months ago, would she ever have discovered what she was truly capable of? His criticism, harsh as it had been, had sparked something in her, a determination to prove not just to him but to herself that she had something valuable to share. Sometimes, Anna realized, it takes someone challenging us to help us find our hidden strengths. And sometimes the music that means the most is the kind that emerges from struggle, from pushing beyond what we thought possible. As she raised a glass with her friends, Anna made a silent toast to hidden talents, to unexpected journeys, and to the power of a single chord to change everything. 6 months after the winter showcase, Anna stood outside the door of practice room 7, key in hand. It wasn't just any practice room anymore. It was her practice room, at least for the 2 hours she had reserved it every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. So much had changed since that night Thomas Chen had found her playing there, yet somehow it felt right to be back where it all began. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The familiar upright piano waited for her, its worn keys holding memories both painful and precious. Anna sat down at the bench, running her fingers lightly over the ivory, and smiled to herself before beginning her warm-up exercises. Life had taken unexpected turns since winning the composition contest. The scholarship prize had allowed her to enroll in formal music classes at the academy while continuing her administrative job part-time. Her winning composition, Hidden, had been professionally recorded and included in the Academy's annual showcase album. Most surprisingly, she had received several commissions to write original pieces for student recitals and even a local chamber music series. It wasn't fame or fortune. Hannah still lived in the same small apartment and worried about making rent some months, but it was recognition, validation, a foot in the door of a world she had only dreamed of entering. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. She looked up to see Thomas standing in the doorway, much as he had that first night. But his expression was different now, less judgmental, more collegial. "I thought I might find you here," he said. "Do you have a minute?" Anna nodded, gesturing to the empty chair beside the piano. Thomas sat down, looking slightly uncomfortable, as if unused to being on this side of a conversation. "I wanted to talk to you about your latest piece, the one for the Spring Student Showcase." Anna had been asked to compose a piece for the advanced piano students' spring performance. It was her biggest commission yet, and she had been working on it for weeks. "What about it?" she asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. Despite their more cordial relationship now, Thomas's opinion still mattered to her. Perhaps too much. "I had a chance to look at the score," he said. "It's quite good." Anna waited. With Thomas, there was always more. "But," he continued, "the middle section feels underdeveloped. The main theme is strong, but you don't take it far enough. It's like you're holding back." The old Anna might have been crushed by this criticism. The new Anna considered it thoughtfully. "Maybe I am," she admitted. "I've been worried about making it too difficult for the students to play." "They're good, but they're still learning." Thomas shook his head. "Don't compromise your artistic vision for technical limitations. Challenge them. They'll rise to it, or they'll learn something valuable in the attempt." Anna couldn't help but smile at the irony. "Like I did?" Thomas met her eyes, a hint of remorse in his expression. "I was unnecessarily harsh that night. I apologize for that." "But you weren't wrong," Anna said. "About my technique, at least." "No, I wasn't, but I was wrong about something more important." Thomas leaned forward slightly. "I told you that you had a story to tell but didn't know the language to tell it. What I failed to recognize was that sometimes the story itself can be so compelling that it finds its own language." Coming from Thomas, this was an extraordinary admission. Anna felt something tight and long-held loosen in her chest. "Thank you for saying that," she said quietly. Thomas nodded once, then stood. "I should let you get back to your practice. But I did have one more thing to discuss with you." "Oh?" "Dean Rivera is putting together next year's teaching schedule. She's asked me if you might be interested in teaching a beginner's composition seminar, for adult learners specifically, those without formal backgrounds who want to explore musical expression." Anna stared at him, stunned. "Me? Teaching at the academy?" "It would just be one evening class per week, very informal. But yes, your unconventional background actually makes you ideal for this particular class." "I don't know what to say." Thomas almost smiled. "You don't need to decide now. Think about it. Talk to Jin. He speaks highly of your analytical abilities." He headed toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and Anna? Don't hold back on that middle section. Trust your instincts." After he left, Anna sat motionless on the bench, processing the conversation. Teaching composition, even a beginner's class at Westlake Academy. It seemed impossible, yet here was the opportunity, handed to her by the very person who had once dismissed her abilities. Life had a strange way of coming full circle. Later that week, Anna met Jin for coffee at their usual spot near the academy. After months of formal lessons, he had become both mentor and friend. Their weekly coffee meetings were a chance to discuss music theory, compositional challenges, or just life in general. "He said what?" Jin asked, eyebrows raised, when Anna told him about Thomas's offer. "That I should teach a composition class. For beginners without formal training," Jin grinned. "And you're surprised because 6 months ago I was just an admin assistant who played piano badly in empty practice rooms. I'm still learning myself, Jin. How can I teach others? The same way you learn to compose, by doing it, thinking about it, and trusting your instincts." Jin stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "Besides, who better to teach beginners than someone who remembers what it's like to be one? Someone who found her own path without years of theory and rules clouding her thinking?" Anna hadn't considered it that way. "You think I should do it? I think you'd be amazing at it. Your story would inspire people, Anna. Think about it. How many others are out there hiding their musical dreams because they think it's too late or they don't have the right background?" The thought resonated with her. How many people were like her, with music inside them and no way to let it out? How many had been told directly or indirectly that they didn't belong in that world? "I'll think about it," she promised. That evening, Anna sat at her digital piano at home, working on the troublesome middle section of her commissioned piece. Thomas was right. She had been holding back, simplifying her musical ideas out of concern for the student performers. But what if she stopped worrying about limitations and just wrote what she heard in her head? Her fingers found new patterns, more complex harmonies, a bolder development of her main theme. It flowed naturally, as if it had been waiting for her to have the courage to express it. 2 hours later, she sat back, the revised section complete. It was more challenging, yes, but also more honest, more her. The students would struggle with it, perhaps, but that struggle might lead them to discoveries of their own, just as her struggle had led to hers. As Anna prepared for bed that night, she found herself thinking about the teaching offer again. The idea of helping others find their musical voice, especially those who, like her, had come to it through unconventional paths, was increasingly appealing. She remembered how alone she had felt in those early days, how sure she was that she didn't belong in the world of real musicians. How different might her journey have been if someone had told her earlier that her voice mattered, that her lack of formal training didn't disqualify her from creating meaningful music. The next morning, Anna made 2 important calls. The first was to Dean Rivera, accepting the teaching position for the fall semester. The second was to the community center near her apartment, offering to start a free weekly music workshop for adults over the summer, a trial run for her teaching skills, and a way to give back to those who might never set foot in an elite academy like Westlake. By early summer, Anna's life had settled into a new rhythm. Mornings were spent at her part-time administrative job, afternoons devoted to her own compositions and music studies, and Tuesday evenings found her at the community center, teaching a small but enthusiastic group of adult beginners. Her first workshop had drawn only 3 participants: Rita, a retired nurse who had always wanted to learn piano; Miguel, a construction worker who composed melodies in his head while on job sites; and Lena, a young mother who had given up music lessons as a teen but wanted to reconnect with that part of herself. What they lacked in formal knowledge, they made up for in passion and life experience. Anna found that teaching them forced her to clarify her own understanding of music, to find simple ways to explain complex concepts, and to recognize that there were many valid paths to musical expression. "You don't need to know every rule to make something beautiful," she told them during their 3rd session. "Rules are helpful, but they're not the music itself. The music comes from what you feel, what you want to express." "But what if it's wrong?" Rita asked, frustration evident after struggling with a simple composition exercise. "What if it doesn't follow the proper structure?" Anna smiled, remembering her own doubts. "Then it's your structure, your rules. Music has evolved because people were willing to break the patterns that came before them." As the summer progressed, her little group grew to 7 regulars. They shared their compositions with each other, pieces that were sometimes technically simple but emotionally rich, reflecting lives lived fully outside the conservatory walls. On the last day of the workshop, they held a tiny recital in the community center's multi-purpose room. Just the participants, a few family members, and a surprisingly emotional Anna, watching as each of her students performed an original piece. Lena had brought her 8-year-old daughter, who sat wide-eyed as her mother played a lullaby she had composed. After the recital, the little girl approached Anna. "Are you a real piano teacher?" she asked solemnly. Anna knelt down to the child's level. "I am. Why do you ask?" "Because I want to learn to play like my mom. But my mom says you're going to teach at the big music school now with the fancy students." Anna glanced at Lena, who shrugged apologetically. "I am teaching at the academy this fall," Anna confirmed. "But you know what? I think I'll keep teaching here too on Saturday mornings. Would you like to join us?" The girl's face lit up. "Yes. Mom says I'm too little for real lessons, but I'm not." "You're exactly the right age," Anna assured her, thinking of all the years she had lost believing she was too old, too untrained, too much of an outsider to pursue her musical dreams. Later, walking home through the summer evening, Anna found herself composing a new melody in her head, something light and hopeful with unexpected harmonies. A piece about new beginnings, perhaps, or about the hidden talents waiting to be discovered in unexpected places. She would call it Echoes, she decided, because that's how music worked. One person's expression inspiring another's, voices calling to each other across time and circumstance, each note an invitation to respond with your own. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "How'd the final workshop go? Beers to celebrate?" Anna smiled and typed back, "Amazing." These students taught me more than I taught them. Rain check on beers. Feeling inspired to write. Back in her apartment, Anna went straight to her piano. As her fingers found the first notes of echoes, she thought about the strange, winding path that had led her here. From hidden practice sessions to public recognition, from student to teacher, from doubt to confidence. It had started with a harsh critique from a man who couldn't see past her technical flaws to the music in her heart. But it had become something else entirely, a journey of finding her voice, then helping others find theirs. And it had all begun with a single chord, played in an empty practice room when she thought no one was listening.